All right, guys. Sunday, 12th of April, 2026. Let's get into the market, shall we? All right, let's do this. Uh, so, this is what we're going to do. By the way, everybody, welcome to Plural Markets. For those of you who are new, this is a brand new channel. I have another channel on YouTube that's been around for a while. It's called Israel Keys Wealth. It's got over about 100 free videos on everything from how to set up your charts to how to trade high-end concepts. This is a brand new channel I'm starting. I'm going to niche or specify the niche of creating videos that are not so much just teaching seminars, but actually content with practicable, actionable tools you can apply to the markets. My name is Israel. Let us go. So I want to give you an idea or just give you some insight into how my trading week begins. So this is my Sunday/Monday ritual. I'm going to be looking at one pair specifically, or just one asset class, sorry, specifically. That's the Nasdaq Mini-Futures, just to give you an idea of how a professional trader will approach a trading week in any particular asset class. Now, I will do some teaching, I'll address some concepts, but I'm going to make this not so much a lecture and not so much just a live analysis, somewhere in between. So, okay, so this is NQ. Now, the first video on this channel was me showing you a trade review of my bread and butter setup. I'm going to be analyzing this asset class today, looking for that bread and butter setup during the week. It's going to be a 4-hour turtle soup, a 4-hour change of character after a stop hunt in the week, and we're going to trade it from a level to a level, and I'm going to walk you down how I analyze my charts looking for that setup. Now, there's several setups you can use. The chart analysis structure will be roughly the same. I'm not going to do every single thing I will normally do, or this video will be never ending. So let's go. So this is NQ. This is what we are looking on the weekly chart. Now, based on how I trade, I'm an intra-week trader at heart. So the weekly time frame is pretty much the highest time frame that I need to look at. And what I'm doing or looking at on the week now, I told you that I looked at 3 or 4 time frames during the week. I left out one of them, which is the levels time frame, but I didn't talk about it because the video would have been too long. Now, on your highest time frame chart, one of the things I would like to look for are certain key levels. Monthly, weekly, and daily levels are gold on lower time frames. If you're a swing trader, monthly levels are gold. If you're intra-week like me, weekly levels are gold. And if you are an intraday trader or a scalper, then daily levels are gold. And so the first question is, what's this doing on the weekly chart? It looks like we have been on an upward move and we have pulled into an area of consolidation. Just clearly, you can see that's what it looks like here. However, if you look deeper, you will see that we have nicked this stop, or should I say nicked this low, this swing low on the weekly chart, and there has been a strong impulsive move on the weekly chart. Let's just zoom into that for a little bit. So as you can see here, in 1 week, that was the week before this past week, we completely engulfed the body of this previous channel. Also, you can see that there was a bit of a consolidation here for a few weeks before we then dipped here. We took out this low, no reaction per se, took out this one, still no reaction. But upon taking out this low into this order block here, just remember how to draw the blocks again. Like I said, I'm a new convert to I'm a new convert to TradingView, so forgive me. It'll take me a while to get my bearings, but there we go. So this is a classic SMC trade concept, and of course, the higher the time frame, the more significant the signal or the concept. So we've taken that out that swing low. We're still in between this order block here, and we've had a nice, this is what we like to see, a nice impulsive move to the upside. Now, there are equal highs here. Just give me a second. So there are equal highs just here of course, they're not exactly equal, but they're fairly equal on the weekly chart. And so I'm expecting price to get to at least that level. That's what I'm expecting. So I'm of the opinion that I have, so from here, 25278 to here, 26. So that's over 1,000, roughly 1,200 points on the Nasdaq Minis. That's a nice little run. It doesn't look that way on a weekly chart, but we'll drop down to it in a second. So now I want you to think of a week as a candle. And when I saw this changed my trading on all time frames. Because if I can frame a trade on a lower time frame to form a candle on a higher time frame, then it's very simple. All I need to do is guess the direction correctly. Not guess, predict the direction with some degree of certainty. If I am of the belief, now of course this could be a down week, we could very easily pull back in here, and I am actually going to have a shall I say, a scenario where I follow that as well, because as you can see, we've just taken out some equal highs here on a weekly chart. So these may not be swing highs, but on a weekly chart, but they're weekly highs. If I drop down to, let's see now, let's take this down to a forward chart just to show you what I'm talking about. If I drop down to a forward chart, I want you to just look at that level I just drew on the forward chart. You will see that it will coincide nicely with several, I think there we go. So as you can see, this level there. And for the record, if you looked at my trade analysis from earlier this week, the first video on this channel, shameful plug or shameless plug, go check it out. I think you'll like it. This was my setup for last week. I took a long here for about 3.5 to 1 from about here, and I rolled it up to there, and I got out there. And I showed you that level on the daily chart in that video, but it's also a weekly level. And so that is basically there. So I'm coming into the week with the understanding that we may be due a reversal, and that's fine. Right? We may be due a reversal, and that's fine. And if we are due a reversal, I will be ready with the exact same system of strategy to go short. But let's assume for a second that we are going long, right? And that our target, you know what? Our target is to, we don't even need to go that far. Let's just assume that all I want to do is fill that in. Now, I think we are very likely, if not this week, maybe next week, but I think it is very, very likely that we fill in that high and nick it. But okay, let's just say this is our target for the week, right? That's still a nice, let's see, from the open here, 25272, there is 26, so that's at least 700 points, 800 points, nothing to sneeze at, right? Okay, so let's assume that's what we're going for. If this is going to be a bullish week, we expect price to open and within the first day or two, form a low. I mean, look at this candle. Look at last week, right? Price opened, formed a low, and where did it form the low? Well, can you see that that low was formed in or around, one second, in or around a low from a previous week. And if you are that way inclined to just go around drawing highs and lows on weekly, daily, and monthly charts, you will see some magic happen, right? It'll be almost prophetic, right? Almost prophetic. So anyway, it just came in and tapped that low from 3 weeks ago. Took it out just a little bit, even though it had been taken out already, and the reverse to the upside. Well, if we follow that same principle, we would expect the candle to print this week to start here, find support somewhere in here. Where? Any weekly or daily level, right? Any week. I mean, I'm liking this one here. I'm liking this one right here. I would not be surprised if we see that, but it doesn't. It could be here, right? We don't know where it's going to be for now, but we want to see it form some support somewhere in the body of this candle. Now, it could come all the way up and close this to here, in which case that would no longer be, we wouldn't have a fair value gap. I kind of suspect we're going to have a fair value gap on a weekly time frame this week. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, whatever. But I expect price to open up here, form support somewhere in this candle, and then shoot up and take out this high, certainly, and then this one. Alternatively, it could run a high, right, and then short. We will have a scenario. We'll be ready for that as well. So, okay, great. So let's go down to a daily chart. All right. Like I said, I'm still figuring out trading view. So on a daily chart, let's look at, so what, okay, great, excellent. Now, we can refine this low even better. So this here, that's the low of the week that we think we tapped, right? But notice it also coincides with the high of this day. But can you see that this levels are not arbitrary? Just look at that, right? Okay, so price came down, found support, and made a doji. This was Tuesday, right? This was Tuesday. If I'd been trading this, I wouldn't have entered at all on Tuesday, but after Tuesday formed, I would have been looking for a bullish move on Wednesday. Now, I didn't catch Wednesday because I wasn't in front of my charts. I did catch Thursday. I caught the trade on Thursday into this level. So basically, all I got last week was this piece here, 25047. No, that's not true. I think I saw it was Thursday I caught. No, it was Thursday I caught. Yes, Wednesday. Sorry, I just recorded the video on Thursday, so I did catch the move. Yes, I did catch this move up on Wednesday, and I came out just before it tipped there, but I recorded the video on Thursday. All right, so we refined our levels a bit further. Also, you will notice that there is a nice little fair value gap hanging around just here. Look at this. A daily fair value gap is gold. There you go. So I would expect to see price potentially come back into this gap, right? If we're going to push up. So something like this. Let's see what we can do. Okay. Right. Something like this. Nope, not that. There is a tool I am trying to find. I need to get my game on. Is it the info line? I don't think so. Oh yeah, it is. Is it? No, it's not. Okay. All right. Whatever. Can I remember this one? It's the one where you can draw multiple lines, like click, 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 click. Triangle. No. Can I remember this? Nope. This one? No, it's not. No. Anyway, something like this is what I'm looking for. I'll figure it out. I played around with my friends, or mentees, TradingView before I decided to buy my subscription, and he had this in his chart. But anyway, that's kind of what we're expecting, right? So we're expecting, assuming it's a bullish move. Now, you've got to go into every day or week you're trading prepared for what you expect to happen and what you are going to do if the opposite happens. All right? Okay. So that, it could be that. Alternatively, it could come all the way down there. Back in here. It could even fill up there. We don't know. Right? It might want, I mean, I doubt if it comes this far, it will still go up, but it might do that. We don't know. Alternatively, like I said, the exact opposite could happen. It could go up somewhere, run some form of support there, maybe even there, maybe there, and then short from there. We don't know, right? We're just making an informed, your job as a trader is not to be a prophet. Your job is to make an informed prediction and be ready to pivot if necessary. All right? Cool. So we could have that as well. However, I'm going for this as my first choice based on the way the weekly and the daily is setting up. That's going to be my first choice. And if I'm wrong, I will not enter the trade until I see what I'm looking for. Okay. Right, so we're looking at something like that. All right, cool. Now, if that's what we're looking for, we expect to see 1 or 2 days of a short. You can take it on Monday or Tuesday if you see a short. I don't have the time. I'm busy. I've got a family. I've got the most beautiful girl in the world who I've been married to now for almost 17 years. I've got 2 amazing kids. One's a teenager. I've got church. I've got life. I've got family. I'm not a scalper anymore. I'm not going to be staring at my charts, really. I'm going to wait till the week shows me where it's going. How's that going to happen? Well, I'm going to go down to a 4-hour chart, and I'm going to stay on the 4-hour chart, waiting for the week to tip its hand. Now, remember my bread and butter setup I taught you earlier this week or last week. All right, I'm going to be looking for an intra-week 4-hour stop hunt. In essence, let's just for a second assume that stop hunt's going to be this one here. We don't know for a fact, but let's assume that this is the level that price is going to run. Right? Let's assume that. We don't know, but let's assume that it's going to run this low. And if you don't understand why this is my bread and butter setup, I want you to go back on any asset class and look at the 4-hour time frame. And I want you to spot at what point price changes direction every single time. In essence, every time there's a 4-hour market structure shift and change of character, you will see the 4-hour stop hunt happens intra-week. Now, let me put on my, okay, I've got the wrong, okay, let's put this one in. Actually, no. Okay, fine. I was working off the wrong template. That's fine. But I've got an indicator that shows me, okay, let's see. I can just add it here. I can just add it here. Okay. Weekly and daily separators. That's fine. Cool. So this is the start of last week. In an hour or so, we'll have the start of this week. I want to see price run out that stop here and react sharply to the upside. Now, let's go over my trade from last week to show you what I mean by that. So give me a second. Let me open up another trading view terminal to show you what I mean by that. Okay, so that's full. Okay, there we go. Aha. Excellent. Excellent. So this is the trade I took last week that I reviewed with you on Thursday, but the entry was on a Tuesday. Yeah, the entry was on a Tuesday. So that was the trade. That's a 1 hour chart. Let me show it to you in the 4 hour chart to show you what I'm talking about. So as you can see, the week began on Monday. Price went into, that's a good sign. When you see price in consolidation on a Monday and a Tuesday, or Tuesday, it's a very good sign. All right. So price goes into consolidation and then just dives to our level and reacts sharply. Right? Truth of the matter is, you could have been in here straight away. That would have been a valid trade. Put your stop loss there. Now, that's what we want to see. But like I showed you, if you dive down to a 15-minute chart, so you see I've gone from a weekly to a 4 hour to a 15-minute. That's a classic time frame triads. We go monthly, daily, monthly, daily 1 minute, monthly, daily 1 hour, weekly 4 hour 15 minutes, daily 1 hour 5 minutes are classic time frame triads. They go very well with each other. All right, especially if you're coming from MT4, you see that whenever a time frame has a higher time frame as its dividers, like the 1 hour time frame, the dividers on there are days. The 4 hour time frame on the MT4, the dividers are weeks, and in the daily time frame, the dividers are months. It shows you that the classical traders understood that those are the pairs and triads of time frames you should be working with. So this is what it looked like on a 15-minute chart. We had our 4 hour level there. We expected to see a reaction. The reaction we saw was a hammer, a bullish hammer on a 4 hour chart. Well, on a 50-minute chart, that bullish hammer displayed itself as a change of character. Price formed a swing high, right? Then took out this low and broke this structure to the upside. Then came back in, right? Came back in into this here breaker. Let me show you. That was a breaker, not you. You know what I'm looking for? There you go. There's a breaker right there. Right? There's a breaker right there. I didn't show you that on the trade preview because I was trying to be quick, but there's a breaker right there. Nice little breaker. It comes back in and reacts to the upside again. And so we're in on the close of this candle right there. Once this candle closes, we're in. And that was the trade. So we'd be looking at something similar this week. If I were to go in there and take that out, we would go to a 15-minute chart and just wait to see something similar. Fair value gap, breaker, 1 second. Fair value gap, breaker, something of that nature. But so that would be the level we'd be potentially. Now, it could be any other level. It could form another low. I'm just giving an example. You will know, and we'll look at this together during the week. You'll know when it happens. You see it. It'll form an intermediate 4 hour low or one that's already been formed from the previous week. It'll consolidate just above it, dive into it, tap into the liquidity, and react with an impulse to the top side. Once that happens, we'll be ready. So something like this, and then goes boom, 15-minute change of character, comes back in, some sort of breaker or fair value gap or inverse fair value gap or displacement gap or whatever. right? And then once we enter there, let's assume we came in here, right? So let's assume it took out that low there. Oh, snap, you've not been looking at my screen. Okay, so that's the 15-minute screen. Sorry about that. So like I was saying, we'd be looking for some sort of liquidity story, as I like to call it, or liquidity profile to tell us. So price will come down, let's assume range somewhere here, dive in here, or form some form of intermediate low, and then react with a 15-minute change of character. Now let's assume that reaction, let's assume we get that reaction here. This is the beauty of multi-time frame analysis. Let's assume that's the level on the 15-minute chart at which we get in the trade, right? Okay, so you would then expect, let's assume this is the low that's formed there. Now, normally, if you were taking this just off a 15-minute chart, right, you'd be looking to close just short of that high, right? Which would be a 2.5 hour to hour. However, remember that we have analyzed the fact that we expect price to get all the way up here. So the beauty is you can then extend this to maybe just about there. And now you've gone from a 2.5 hour to hour to a 7 hour to hour, because you're really trading off a week. Bear in mind, we said we could go as far as this. Now, just imagine we get as far as this. If we got up there, that would be 10 to 1. But let's not be greedy. 7 biblically is the perfect number, isn't it? So we're getting that 7.5. Okay, fine. Now, what we're really doing here is we have turned a trade that was analyzed based on weekly levels. Okay, I just got to shut this off. This trade was analyzed based on weekly levels. Remember? Yes, remember we said we were looking for price to come in, find support somewhere around here, right? And then go long. So this candle was last week. We're expecting price to come in, come all the way down, and then go up to here or here. Let's get rid of that. And go up to here or here. We then drop to a 4-hour chart to predict where our signal is likely to be. Again, like I said, we could go the exact opposite way. If I have time on this video, I'll show you. If not, I'll do another video. And again, we don't know for sure that's the low that will be tapped. I'm just giving you an example. But if you do this consistently, when you see it, you'll know. Or at least you'll think you know. You'll take a loss every now and again. But because it's a 4-hour, so we're going to have a 4-hour signal working off weekly levels, right? So we can really run this up. But we've gone a step further to have an entry on a 15-minute chart that's going to give us a very tight stop placement, very good risk control, very good precision, but we can still hold for the weekly target. We are anticipating what we think the weekly range is going to be. So in essence, if this scenario holds out, we'd have the week open, price dive down into this level there. Again, it could form an intermediate low somewhere higher up. It could go somewhere lower, but we're just speculating here. And then react by coming up to this level. Right? It would say go up here. Right? And then come back here. And then go up here. Let's say this is where the 15-minute engulfing, after it finds support at the Fibonacci range, closes. So you are going to have to learn to sit, if you want to trade this way, depends on the time frame, to sit through all this. This could happen in one go on Monday. It may not happen till Wednesday, New York. Very unlikely waits till Thursday if it's going to happen this way. And you are going to go about your life and do absolutely nothing. Sweet nothing. Until you have a stop hunt triggered on the 4-hour chart and a displacement reaction. Can you see the beauty of this? So I am not going to be staring at my charts all day. I have nothing against scalpers. I don't do that anymore. I can actually set an alert on TradingView or MT4 and ask it to tell me when price reaches this level. Then I can start checking it on my phone, you know, and wait for that change of character and then go there. Now, you know what? I'm going to deal with what if the reverse happens. You know, let's just do with that real quick. So what if the reverse happens? What if this hypothesis for the weekly direction is wrong? Any candle can be three things. It can be bullish, bearish, or indecisive, right? In essence, a week can be bullish, bearish, or indecisive. So I'm not going to talk about indecisive. I think that's fairly obvious. But what if it's a bearish week instead? What if instead of price going up, it goes down? Well, I'm glad you asked, because we have a plan for that as well. Or we will have a plan for that as well. Okay, so let's see. Bear in mind, whatever direction it goes, price will be triggered by liquidity. And there's two types of liquidity. There's intra-range liquidity. Those are fair value gaps and inverse fair value gaps. And then there is external or extra range liquidity. That is highs and lows and stop hunts. So if price is going to go south, you could argue it has already raided liquidity here. There's 3 weekly highs just here. So technically, a liquidity raid could already have happened, in which case we could just go south straight. All right, now, if we're going to go south, most likely, we're going to go up a little bit from here, form a high this week. Again, the high can form pretty much there because we've already tapped liquidity, or it could wait to take out this high even further upwards, right? So let's just assume that that's the high it's going to go for this week before it shorts. We do the exact same thing, right? The exact same thing. Where is it likely to short? Is there a weekly level just above that high? Well, I'll show you what several it could be. It could be that one there. 1 second. Okay. It could be that one there. In which case, price could go up, nick that, touch, then come back down. It could be this one. It could be the body of this candle. It could be the body of that candle. It could be all the way up there. We don't know. But there's going to be some sort of support or resistance level from which it's going to short. So we're going to go down to a daily chart. All right, so we're going to wait to see something up here. Let's say it takes that out, for instance. So that could be it. It takes that out and then shorts. Well, we would expect to see the exact same signal, just reversed. 4-hour chart. And I'm not making this signal up. It's the way the market moves. Go check every asset class as far back as you can. You'll see this happens in and out, in and out. It's like clockwork. So the week's gonna start. It's gonna run a stop. So let's assume that it could be this stop already from previously. It could make an interweek stop of it, a high of its own, and then run that. So let's assume that it happens above this one here, right? We're gonna wait for price to run there. and then show a sharp, impulsive, bearish behavior. We want to see a 4-hour candle pattern that shows a bearish reversal, an inverse hammer, a bearish engulfing, whatever. Then we're going to go to a 15-minute chart and wait for the same thing to happen. A market structure shift with a change of character. In this case, a market structure break, right? And so we would expect to see something come up here, right? Then break character to the downside, return to retest, and then a bearish engulfing. Let's assume that happens here. Let's assume that on the 50-minute chart we get, so it would look something like this. 1 second. So price would go up, right? And then potentially, come on, man. You know what? I'm just going to get rid of that guy. It's more trouble than he's worth. So come this way, break structure, right? Change character to the downside, take out a swing high, a swing low there somewhere, then pull back, and then we're going to assume that the pullback happens at the final signal on the 50-minute chart that tells us enter the trade. Now the entry candle closes there. If that's the case, we would then enter a trade there, right? Put our stop loss just beneath or above that high. Where are we headed to? We're going to go back to the weekly time frame to figure out where potentially this short week would form. Well, we have several options here, although they're not as clear as the bullish direction. The first could be that it would fill in this fair value gap here. I doubt that. What I think is more likely to happen in that case is that potentially, let's assume it fills that in, or maybe the body of this candle here. Or actually, I like this one here, right? So, and just like I said, if you just draw weekly highs, lows, opens, and closes across your chart and look at what happens as price hits them intra-week and intraday, you look like a profit. So I would say maybe first target, potentially second target. Okay, so we're going to go back to 15-minute chart, or let's go back to a 4-hour chart this time. All right. Now, those levels we just drew, if I'm not mistaken, are here and here. So we can extend this bad boy for first target all the way down there of 421 and a second target of 6.45. Now, if it takes out this one, all bets are off. That probably means we're headed downwards for a bit, which, well, I don't know if that's the case. So 15-minute chart, and that's what it looks like. What you have done is turned weekly targets, the 4-hour signal, into a 15-minute entry that gives you a very tight stop. All right, guys, that's how we roll around these parts. So I'm going to stop the video here. Might be some things edited in or out of it, but I'm going to stop it here. Same principle across every single asset class, every single time frame. I'm going to do another video this week talking about whether or not you want to be a position trader, a scalper, an intra-week trader, and if that's the case, what time frames you should be working with. Remember that I have about 100 free videos very in depth. I've had people reach out to me and tell me that they charge thousands of dollars for what I put for free on YouTube. It's my way of giving back to the trading community. The markets have been very good to me. God's been very good to me through the markets. I would hope that you would have a lot of that success as well. And so it's all free on my other channel that is called Israel. Let's see if I can find, I don't think I have something to put up for it here. It's called Israel Keys Wealth. So Israel Keys Wealth Trading Education on YouTube. The link should be in the description and in a pinned comment or a comment in this video. If you want to be part of my Telegram channel with a bunch of other traders who are different, we've got professional traders there who are on their own Discords. We've got brand newbies there. We're building a community. We're going to be there for each other, holding each other's hand along the way. I respond to almost every single message I get on Telegram. We might have a Discord coming up. We'll see. We might have a partnership with an existing Discord with someone that I have a lot of for, who is also an extremely great trader in his own right. I'll see you later in the week. This is Israel. Take care. Have an amazing week. Bye-bye.